Hello there. This video I'm going to do now is about the count to Pentecost. I've already done one video on it, but I think it's necessary to do this one to explain it a little bit deeper and maybe get this message across to people of exactly why the count has to be done one specific way. Also, because of comments I've had on the video I did about the Lunar Sabbath, I'm going to show you what they say about it, and I'm going to show you why their count to Pentecost is wrong. So, let's make a start and go to Leviticus 23:15. And you shall number for yourself from the day after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. To the day after the 7th Sabbath you shall number 50 days, and you shall offer a new grain offering to Yahweh. Now the first thing we're going to have to do is establish which Sabbath we're counting from, because at the time of Passover, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which was the 15th of Nisan, was always a special Sabbath. And there was also a weekly Sabbath in that week. So what we have to do, we'll look at 2023 and we will examine exactly how to count for that particular year. There are 3 things that I can say to establish one fact. You must count from the weekly Sabbath. In the first place, the word used for the weekly Sabbath is usually Hashabbat. This is never used of a feast day Sabbath in the Old Testament. Not one time. But on a regular basis, the word Hashabbat, which is Shabbat plus the definite article, is used in a number of places. And I'll just give you 3 of those for reference. Exodus 20 verse 8, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 31:14, you shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy to you. Deuteronomy 5:12, observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Now in each of these places, the Sabbath was this word Hashabbat with the definite article. This is one of the reasons which I searched out in the Old Testament many years ago, never used of a feast day Sabbath. Also, I can add this to it. The word Shabbat is never used of the 15th of Nisan in the Old Testament. We know it was a Sabbath because we know this from the New Testament. But in the Old Testament, the word Shabbat was never used for that date. Second, when Jesus was appearing to his disciples on the first day of the week, the day after the Sabbath, he was actually fulfilling the first fruits, the wave offering that was made on the day after the Sabbath. This is where your count to Pentecost starts from. Leviticus 23:15, and you shall number for yourself from the day after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering. So that was where it was, the instructions were given. And if we go to the New Testament, we can see exactly how it turned out. John 20, verse 19. When it was evening on that day, the first day from the Sabbath, and the doors having been shut where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood in the midst and says to them, peace be to you. So this is Jesus appearing to his disciples. Now, if you understand the typology, in the Old Testament, people went out and sowed the grain, and they reaped a harvest, and they came and they waved it before God to show God what they had managed to do. In the New Testament, this is different. This is spiritual. Jesus Christ has been sacrificed by the Father, and he now is being shown to his disciples. This is God showing the people what he has been able to produce. And this was what brought the salvation of the world, wasn't it? This is Jesus dying on a cross. He was the first fruits. 1 Corinthians 15:20. But now Christ has been raised from the dead, and he became the first fruits of those who slept. For since death came by man, also the resurrection of the dead came by man. For as in Adam all die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive. But every man in his own order, Christ the first fruits, afterward those who are Christ's at his coming. Now if Christ is the first fruits, and he was produced and shown to people the day after the Sabbath, it tells you that that is the day from where the count starts. So the count starts the day after the weekly Sabbath, during the feast of unleavened bread. Just to clarify it, if you go to Joshua chapter 5, you will find there that the Sabbath day actually fell on the Passover. And they brought this wave sheaf offering on the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread on the 15th. And because of that, it gives you a clear indication that that is when the wave offering is made. The one that's made during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that is the one that you always count from. Leviticus 23:16. To the day after the 7th Sabbath you shall number 50 days, and you shall offer a new grain offering to Yahweh. Now fortunately for us, we have got another way to check this. So far we've got two indicators. One is 50 days and the other is 7 Sabbaths plus a day. They are in agreement with each other. Deuteronomy 16:9 reads like this. 7 weeks you shall number to you. Begin to number the 7 weeks from when you begin to put the sickle to the grain. And you shall keep the Feast of Weeks to Yahweh your God with a tribute of freewill offering of your hand, which you shall give to Yahweh your God according as Yahweh your God blesses you. The day that the sickle was put into the grain, that was the first fruits of the barley harvest. This is the first harvest that comes in their year. Leviticus 23:10. Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you come into the land which I give to you, and shall reap its harvest, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh to be accepted for you on the day after the Sabbath. The priest shall wave it. So that's where the count starts, and this is where it goes to. Exodus 34:22. You shall observe the Feast of Weeks as the first fruits of wheat harvest and the Feast of Ingathering at the year's end. So this is telling us this was the wheat harvest now. If it's going to be a first fruits, then it's got to be a different grain to the one that was offered earlier. It can't be the barley harvest. This is now the wheat harvest. So this now is giving us another opportunity. We've now got 3 things we can look at. It's the Feast of Weeks, it's the 50 days, and 7 Sabbaths plus a day. They all 3 different ways of saying the same thing, so you can't get it wrong if you understand how to rightly divide the Word of God. I'm going to give you another one, and that is Pentecost in the New Testament. The word 5 in Greek is pente. Strong's number is 4002. 50 in Greek is pentekonta. Strong's number is 4004. 50th in Greek is Pentecoste. Strong's number is 4005. This word occurs 3 times in the New Testament, and each time it's translated Pentecost. So Pentecost is the 50th day. The 50th day from the wave of the sheaf offering. This is how you count to the wheat harvest. And you can see the occurrence of this if you go to Acts 2:1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared to them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. So this was the 50th day after the wave sheaf of the barley harvest. Again, it's Pentecost. This is the Greek. This is where the thing comes from. And this is where the Holy Spirit was given. And if you understand where we're going with this, the Holy Spirit is known as the first fruits. Romans 8 verse 23. And not only that, but ourselves also who have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves grown within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, the redemption of our body. So, this is the way we count to Pentecost now. First of all, this is the wrong way to count to Pentecost. This is the wrong way to count to Pentecost for the year 2023. There are 5 wrong ways to count, and I can show you 4 of them on this diagram. The Passover was on the 14th, which is approximately equal to Wednesday. It actually started at sunset on Tuesday, but we'll refer to it as Wednesday for the sake of convenience. The Thursday was the feast day Sabbath, the 15th of Nisan, which is always a feast day Sabbath. There is first count we can do is to take the count from the weekly Sabbath, and if we do that, we can start from this date here, which is the 18th of Nisan. But we include, by mistake, the feast day Sabbath, which is 1 Sabbath, 2 Sabbaths, 3 Sabbaths, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the day after the 7th Sabbath is the 1st of Sivan, which is 45 days. It doesn't come to 50 days. The other errors, we can start from the day after the feast day Sabbath, which is this particular day, the 16th of Nisan. And we can count Sabbaths from there. If we count all the Sabbaths from that date, this would be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and after the 7th one, we would come to the 23rd of Iyar, which is only 38 days, so that's the wrong way to count. Now we'll miss out the feast day Sabbaths. We start from this place for count number 3, 16th day, and we will count 7 Sabbaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And like the first one, it comes to the 1st of Sivan, which is 45 days. That's not 50 days. The other wrong way to count is to start from the 16th of Nisan and just add 50 days to it. So we start from there and we count down, adding the 7 days each time as we go, and we come to the 6th of Sivan. Now, if you do that count, it always comes to the 6th of Sivan because it starts from the same day every time. But you can see for yourself, it isn't the day after the Sabbath, it's the day before the Sabbath. So this is a wrong way to count as well. Now, there is one thing I would add to this. If it so happens that the weekly Sabbath and the 15th feast day Sabbath coincide with each other, then this would give us a correct count, because what would happen then was they would both be the same, so you start after the weekly Sabbath exactly the same, and you would just count down, and that would come to the day after the 7th Sabbath. So those are your wrong way counts. The other wrong way count is to count the way the Lunar Sabbath people, but I'll show you that a little bit later. Well, that's the wrong way to count. Now let's have a look at the correct way to count. This is the count to Pentecost for 2023. The correct way to count is the Passover starts on the 14th, so it would start actually at sunset on the Tuesday. If we move on from there, the feast day Sabbath would be on the 15th, and the weekly Sabbath after that would fall on the 17th. So to count to Pentecost, you've now got to count after the weekly Sabbath. That would be day 1 on the 18th. And if you count down 50 days from there, you can see the count all the way down 50 days, and it comes to the 8th of Sivan. If you count the Sabbaths, but only the weekly Sabbaths, and you start from day 1 there, you can go to this Sabbath, which would be the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and the day after the 7th Sabbath comes to 8th of Sivan. So that is the correct count, the way you count to Pentecost for 2023. That's the way you should always count to Pentecost. I'm going to give you the 3 things again. Make sure you get them, please. 7 Sabbaths plus a day, that's 50 days. 50 days was mentioned. Pentecost was mentioned. 7 weeks plus a day. You can't mistake it. That's the correct way to count to Pentecost. So what do the Lunar Sabbath people say about this? Because when they count to Pentecost, they can't do this 50 days and 7 Sabbaths plus a day business. Because on their calendar, they don't count it like that. They always miss out the 30th day of Nisan, and they always miss out the 1st day of Iyar. So it's not going to come to 7 Sabbaths plus a day. So what they do in order to get round this, they add the 50 days to the 7 Sabbaths plus a day. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's exactly what they try to do. The Passover falls on the 14th of Nisan. The 15th will be the weekly Sabbath, and the count would therefore start on the 16th, the day after. That would leave you with 14 days in Nisan, 29 days in Iyar, 30 days in Sivan, and 27 days in Tammuz to bring the count up to 100 days. That's not going to come to a Sabbath day, not going to come to the day after a Sabbath day, even on their calendar. So there is where it's wrong again. Now, when you look at the Hebrew and try to examine this phrase, in Leviticus 23:16, you're going to find this. This is taken from the Bible Hub Interlinear. You can see the words in the Hebrew. They are Av Mimachorat. Av is on the right-hand side. 5704 is the Strong's number if you want to look it up. That's the important word, because it's what is translated until in this particular interlinear. It means as far as long as much as, depends on the context, but that's basically what it means. So it's going up to a certain point. If you look at J.P. Green's interlinear, volume 1, page 322, it looks like this. Again, you've got the same words. Av Mimachorat. 5704 is the word, and J.P. Green translates it to the day after. So this is up to. This is the correct way to translate it. I want to show you now a number of different ways that this verse is translated. And I'm going to take you to the Bible Hub website, and I'm going to show you some places on that where this thing is translated by various different translators. I'll leave a link in the description of this video, and you can go there yourself and have a look, and you can check them all for yourself. This is the Bible Hub website for Leviticus 23:16. If we go down we can see a number of different translations, and this is what they sound like. New International Version, count 50 days up to. New Living Translation, counting until the day after the seventh Sabbath. English Standard Version, count off 50 days to the day after the Sabbath. Berean Standard Bible, count off 50 days until the day after the Sabbath. King James, even unto the morrow after the seventh Sabbath. New King James, to the day after the seventh Sabbath. We scroll down a few more. New American Standard Bible, count off 50 days to the day after the Sabbath. NASB, New American Standard Bible, 1995, count 50 days to the day after the seventh Sabbath. New American Standard Bible, 1977, count 50 days to the day after the Sabbath. Legacy Standard Bible, to the day after the seventh Sabbath. Amplified Bible, to the day after the seventh Sabbath. Christian Standard Bible, until the day after the seventh Sabbath. They're not saying add. They're not saying then add 50 days, or then count 50 days. They're not saying any of this. They're not saying plus 50 days. This is where the Lunar Sabbath people are making a mistake. They're doing what they're always doing. They're adding to God's word again. This is disastrous for them. Because on the day of judgment, if they're not careful and they don't repent, they're going to be found liars. Let me just remind you, Exodus 34:22, you shall observe the Feast of Weeks of the first fruits of the wheat harvest, and the Feast of Ingathering at the year's end. The other thing that the Lunar Sabbath people try to do, I saw this on one of their videos, I don't know if they all do it, but they try to make out that the 50 days, which is 7 Sabbaths plus a day, is not the wheat harvest. They say it's too early. Well, I'll leave you to do your own research online. I've looked at it. I've tried to check it out. It seems that the wheat harvest in Israel falls somewhere between mid-May and mid-June. It depends on what dates Nisan 14 falls on our Roman calendar. So, that's basically the end of the video. I do hope you got something out of this. Keep the correct count of Pentecost if you're going to use it. It always falls on what we call Sunday in the Roman calendar. It's the day after the seventh Sabbath. So there's a lot of people got it right at least. But I wish you all the best. I hope you have a great day. And if you've learned something from this, give God all the glory, please. In Jesus' name, amen. Click center to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click top to see more videos. And go to our website to see great Bible studies, Hebrew and Greek word studies, and lots more. God bless you.